Bloodthirsty was one of the terms used to describe Blanco while she was in power in Miami's drug era in the 1970s and 1980s. She is accused of having ordered 40 to 200 murders that took place from metropolitan Miami to Queens, New York. Police in Miami connected her to the 1979 Dadeland Mall massacre, a machine gun attack in a mall that claimed 2 lives, which occurred during a conflict between Colombian and Cuban sellers of cocaine. In one tragic assassination Blanco oversaw in 1982, the hitman missed and unintentionally shot and killed the 2-year-old son of the intended target. Blanco allegedly expressed gratitude that the murder of the child would anger the man she was after, according to a Miami police sergeant. The man humiliated her 3 sons, who assisted her in running her empire, which is why he was killed. After a few months, Blanco had a married couple who owed her money from selling cocaine shot dead in front of their kids. Blanco was dubbed La Madrina, or the Godmother, because of her reputation for smuggling cocaine from Colombia's renowned Medellin cartel to the United States. She developed a particular pair of women's underwear where her smugglers could conceal cocaine, and she had more put into the false bottoms of luggage to move on average a few thousand pounds of Medellin white powder per week from South Florida to New York. She earned the nickname, the Black Widow, after she slain her 3 husbands in a fit of rage. Young girls were her favorite demographic to serve cocaine to while they posed nude. Her Miami mansion was the scene of numerous orgies. Another narrative referred to her as compassionate for granting a dying man's request that she shoot him in the head rather than decapitate him. Although it resulted in numerous murders, her network of Colombian dealers brought in up to $80 million in cocaine to the U.S. each month. In 1985, she was ultimately taken into custody by federal officials in California. She was jailed and sent to a U.S. prison in Florida after being found guilty of trafficking drugs in front of a federal court in New York. 2 of her drug-dealing sons were killed while she was incarcerated there. Florida accused her with the 1994 slayings of the married couple and 2-year-old kid. She was sentenced to death, but the case was dropped after it was discovered that the main prosecution witness, Jorge Ayala, who was Blanco's hit man who killed the 3 victims, allegedly engaged in phone sex with 2 secretaries at the state prosecutor's office. Instead, Blanco admitted admission to second-degree murder in 1998 and received 3 concurrent 20-year sentences. She was granted release from jail in 2004 after serving only a third of her sentence due to weak sentencing guidelines from the 1990s. She was sent back to Colombia by U.S. immigration authorities. The 69-year-old Blanco was in a butcher shop in Medellin on September 3, 2012, when an assassin arrived on a motorcycle, shot her twice in the head with a revolver, and then fled. Because Blanco herself gave assassins instructions to go on motorcycles to surprise and murder someone on her hit list, locals theorized that her killer utilized one. The Camorra is an organization of cunning, ruthless organized criminal clans with headquarters in Naples, Italy. Despite their attempts to cooperate, they have a history of deadly internal conflicts. In the late 1990s, during a bloody conflict between Camorra cliques, Maria Licciardi, a Neapolitan lady in her late 40s, emerged as the head of the Secondigliano clan, one of the biggest Camorra families. Licciardi made it onto an Italian police list of the 30 most wanted criminals in the country in 2001 while evading the law for 2 years. Licciardi was born in 1951. From 1993 through 2001, she was regarded by some as the chief of the Camorra gang. She rose to the top of the Camorra gang at a time when women were filling the leadership positions in the syndicate left vacant by the men who were killed, imprisoned, or captured in the 1990s and 2000s. Her family was heavily involved in the Camorra gang when she was young. Her father was the clan chief. Following the arrest of her husband and her 2 brothers by the police, she assumed control over the Secondigliano family as the Madrina, godmother. Licciardi won the trust of the bosses of 20 rival criminal groups inside the Camorra in Naples in the late 1990s. She persuaded them using her negotiating abilities that conflict was bad for business and cooperation would result in more financial gain for all parties involved while preventing violence. In Naples, her opinion predominated. No murders connected to the mob occurred in the city for a number of months. Then, a gang conflict broke out over a sizable shipment of heroin from Istanbul. Users faced a fatal risk from the unrefined, excessively powerful cash. In response to Licciardi's refusal of the medications, the shipment was sent back. In defiance, a rival clan known as the Lo Russo stole the drug supply and sold the powder in tiny packets. Licciardi escaped imprisonment when police invaded a meeting of 13 mafia bosses and took the other bosses into custody. She disappeared until, in 2001, when police stopped a car outside Naples and saw her inside. Since that time, Licciardi has been imprisoned and has been forced to endure the rigorous confinement from the outside world that is required of convicted mafiosi under Italian law. The evil moniker, the snakehead, the Chinese term for a human smuggler, was more than well deserved by Cheng Chu Ping, also known as Sister Ping. As the head of an underground criminal organization in New York's Chinatown, Sister Ping, also known as Big Sister Ping, transported roughly 3,000 undocumented Chinese immigrants into the country. She made a fortune of $40 million throughout the 1980s and 1990s by charging up to $40,000 per head for her services. During her heyday, she provided funding for smuggling operations that transported her clients from Hong Kong to Guatemala and New York. A cargo ship she backed called the Golden Venture ran aground in 1993 off the coast of Queens, New York. Of the 300 famished travelers who embarked on the 100-day voyage from China, 10 perished after jumping from the ship and attempting to swim ashore. One of her smuggling ships capsized 5 years later, killing 14 of her clients who were on board. The incident occurred off the coast of Guatemala. Contrary to what they found after a more than a decade-long investigation by the FBI and federal prosecutors, Sister Ping allegedly employed brutal thugs from the Fuck Chin gang to collect outstanding fees from her customers who were being trafficked. After her arrest in 1989 for attempting to pay off an American officer to allow her to smuggle immigrants into New York from Canada, the FBI became aware of her operation. A list of safe homes for her clients around the world was discovered in her possession by investigators. She was found guilty of smuggling, served 4 months in jail, and then continued her illegal enterprise. Following the demonstrations in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, the United States allowed more Chinese citizens to immigrate. This significantly boosted Sister Ping's smuggling business but also attracted gangs in Hong Kong and New York to the snakehead game. Trafficked aliens in New York who were late or couldn't pay their fees risked torture and execution. Sister Ping was indicted by a grand jury in 1994 after the FBI interrogated Fuck Chin gang associates who had information about her criminal activities. The mother of all snakeheads, Sister Ping, passed away in prison in 2014 at the age of 65.